Welcome to our Backstage Chatter segment. I'm host Jackie Hardy, and today we have a sweet treat in our latest Broadway Dallas series. We are speaking with Hawa Kamara, who plays Wendy in the beloved Peter Pan the musical. Kamara speaks with us about what it's like playing this iconic role of Wendy, a central character in this 70-year-old magical story. This production would make a fun family outing over the holiday season. As you can see, Peter Pan the Musical starting December 25th, 2024 through January 5th, 2025 at Dallas Music Hall in Fair Park. Just head over to BroadwayDallas.org for ticket information. Thanks for watching. Well, welcome, Hawa Kamara. We're so excited to have you as a part of our Backstage Chatter
Yeah,
segment. Yes, yes, we love highlighting artists, particularly minority artists that come through our fair city, who are part of the Broadway Dallas national tours. So thank you for being here. It
yeah,
means
thank you
a
for
lot.
having me. Really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. And we are a minority owned and operated media news entertainment organization. So, yeah, so we know our viewers are always excited when we see, those performers on the stage that look like us, right?
Yeah,
Yes. So yeah. And so, I'm so excited. I was telling my daughter, that this upcoming Broadway Dallas production is Peter Pan. And
yeah,
when I was talking to her, I literally could see the elation that was emoting from her face because I know that it's such a classic, right? And it's always a story that reminds us a little bit of our childhood. And
yeah.
yeah, and so can you kind of describe when you first kind of came to as far as introduced to Peter Pan, the musical?
Oh, I mean, honestly, I wasn't very familiar with the musical
Okay.
until like more recently, like
Oh
since
yeah,
I
yeah, that's
was
understandable.
introduced to the audition process. But
Okay.
my first understanding of Peter Pan was probably like there was a 2003 movie,
Yeah.
a little blonde boy and a little girl, and I mean, obviously Peter Pan and Wendy, and that was everything for me. It was such a good movie. It still stands up to this day.
That's
uh, yeah, so that I was obsessed with as a kid, and then
okay.
also watched like a sequel to Peter Pan called Return to Neverland, and it was actually about Jane, Wendy's daughter, and how she ended up in Neverland. And she's sort of the exact opposite of the original Wendy within the Disney.
Wow. Yeah.
Uh, she sort of talks back more. She isn't asking Peter for anything, not for a kiss, not to be the mother or anything. Like she really wants just go home. um,
Wow.
and I think it was a nice introduction for me to have
Sure. You
because I
got some perspective. Yeah.
exactly. And I like that my first introduction wasn't someone entirely in love with this boy, and in fact, someone that just wanted to go home and had other ambition other than, pleasing Peter Pan.
Mhm.
So I think it really helped me for
Yeah.
a character that would be set in, contemporary times.
I'm
Um,
sure. No, that's great.
yeah,
No, I love that. Yeah, and speaking of just you and particularly, I always like to ask this question too. Like this is your first national Broadway tour. Is that
yes.
right? Right. You also went to Emerson College. That is so impressive.
Huh.
Like, yes. And so being this is your first national Broadway tour, you are now a distinguished alumni, I might add. But yeah, can you kind of share a little bit of your background? I'd love for our audience to kind of know, how it started and what led you to the national stage.
Yeah, I mean, I think I started singing in general, like in church, with
Okay.
all my friends.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then I did some school plays when I was younger. There was always some annual musical that I would always love to take part in. But I also played sports, like I was just one of those kids that just did a lot of things. And then I auditioned for the famed school, which is LaGuardia High School in New York. I was
Yeah.
born and raised in New York City,
Okay.
and I got in, and I was a vocal major there for 4 years, and that taught me a lot. I my love for music grew even more. And then one of my teachers suggested I audition for this national competition called Young Arts, and I'm
Okay.
a finalist in that competition, and that was a life changer. I think it was there was 20 kids out of however many thousand audition, and I got to be one of them, which was really
Mm.
um,
Yeah, you were destined, man.
yeah, it was a good time, and it made me realize that I wanted a career, particularly in musical theater. And that one teacher also then encouraged me to audition for schools,
Okay.
theater schools, and I ended up getting into Emerson. And that was sort of my dream school, or at least it's what I felt most comfortable with, considering the lack of training I had, at least
Mm.
within musical theater. I can say I have training within vocal performance, but I didn't have, acting lessons, dance into
Okay.
class. I wasn't introduced to any of that until I got into school, college.
Wow.
And so, yeah, luckily got into Emerson.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Right. And then from there, really liked it. COVID happened while I was in college, so that was obviously a setback for everybody.
Sure.
But we still took classes there, and my senior, one of the guest professors in my senior year ended up being the director for this production, Peter Pan. His name is Lonnie Price, and he encouraged all of us to audition at least in person, and we all thought it was going to be just a way to get our name in the room.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Like just some experience with auditioning.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I haven't done any of that before. And
Little did you know.
little did I know they wanted me. So
That is amazing. I just love that. I love, hearing that not everybody's, journey is always going to be this cookie cutter, journey, right?
yeah,
Yeah, and just how you were able to go to college, pursue this dream and now see this dream come to reality, right? Yeah, that is so awesome. And it really speaks to, yeah, when you are destined, yeah, it's just gonna happen, right? And
yeah,
it did for you. That is so incredible. How Thank you for sharing that. And kind of speaking about, yeah, Peter Pan, the musical, you have one of the principal character roles. You play Wendy, right? Yeah, and to your point, there's been so many adaptations of Peter Pan, right? And so, in your character, I know you're like the sister to the Darling brothers, and in some respects, a mother figure. And I would love for you to kind of share with our audience kind of what is a little different that does make it a little more contemporary, this particular adaptation. And then I would love to hear kind of how you've tried to uniquely make this character, Wendy, your own.
yeah. Oh, I love these questions.
Oh, good.
Um, even within the text itself, you can sort of tell that it is contemporary and up to date. I think the accent that I speak in, which is, the accent that I'm using right now, or at least, uh, stereotypical American accent,
Yeah.
uh,
Right.
is much different than the English accent that almost every Wendy has had
Right.
in and adaptation, right? So it was really created and formulated for children in America on this North America tour. Um, so there's that, and I think the bits that we have within the Darling family scene is very contemporary. Me and the kids are all bickering in, ways that I remember and my siblings used to bicker as a kid. Um,
That's real, right? That's right.
personal experience into that.
Yes.
And so in that way, it's also really cool seeing I feel like Wendy's character, or at least the Darling siblings, but particularly Wendy, is sort of the anchor of reality,
Mhm.
Neverland, and when she's introduced to Peter, and it's sort of through Wendy's eyes that everyone in the audience is absorbing and learning what Neverland is. And since I am, one of these kids in the audience, or one of the people in the audience who are from today, it's, I think it can bring the audience members exactly to where Wendy is when she's brought to Neverland, and everyone is not speaking in sort of speaking in a different kind of way, like the Lost Boys are are acting different. Obviously, they've been on this island for who knows how many years, right? There's the pirates, and it's entirely different from a girl who probably, was going to go to seventh grade tomorrow to work on a test or something
Right. I love that.
kids can relate to and can dream of in terms of flying to Neverland. Um, so I really appreciate that. And I think
Huh.
I feel very lucky to have the body that I have and to be able to fill in these shoes of Wendy, who's always been white and blonde and blue-eyed or something. And I think even the essence of Wendy has always been seen as very innocent, very
Yeah, yeah,
dainty and
yeah.
a light feminine presence, which she still is, but I
Sure.
that has never been a connotation with Black dark-skinned women. And so I feel
Mhm.
blessed and honored to be able to bring my body and myself and
Absolutely.
my culture into this kind of role. And I
Sure.
think that, I mean, my body alone has made it more three-dimensional. I think I've made a lot of work to make the character more three-dimensional
Mhm.
and make her, along with the text, right? She has more ambitions, but even her reactions to Peter, her reactions to Neverland, I mean, it's all fantastical and it's but still rooted in reality in a way that, you know, I think that I would
Yeah.
have it, I guess, when I was 12, right? And I also think, my brother is a teacher for middle schoolers, and I think during Wendy's probably in middle school, I think I took a lot of influence from the kids
That.
that he has taught, and
Mm.
you
I
know,
love
I,
that.
kids from my neighborhood, and like how I used to act at this age, and bringing that onto a stage where I know people aren't comfortable with
Right.
in this role. And
Absolutely.
realistic.
No, I love that. That is the beauty of the arts, right? Yeah, is beginning it is to show that yeah, a lot of these characters are relatable and universal. And but if you don't show that,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, it does not necessarily become realities, particularly for someone like my daughter that sees someone as beautiful as you on the stage to say, I can be Wendy, or I relate to Wendy. I am Wendy to some respects, but also showing the evolution of Wendy, right? Yeah, I love that. That is so awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Hawa, for real. And I love part of Peter Pan is the magic of it, right? And yes, and you even he flies, of course, but you even fly. Is that correct? Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. That I'm sure a little bit can be scary to some degree,
Yeah.
right? Yes. But I would love to hear from you because you get a kind of behind the scenes perspective, right? Because you're seeing the technical pieces and components that go in making this production. Can you kind of speak to that, having that front row view? Just, yeah, how incredible I'm sure that is.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of work we put in every week, right? And so we, or at least from my understanding,
Yeah,
up there putting it all together.
right.
But I know that we obviously have to take down the rigging for our fly system and then put it back up every week. And we have about, what, 2 hours in total, I think, of the team, the fly captains and whoever's flying that day. So the characters of Peter, Wendy, Michael, John, and Jane, we all get there from about 2 to 3 hours earlier within the first day of the show.
Oh, okay.
We rehearse the flies and we make sure everything is right on the right spikes and we make sure our harnesses are in check. And there's some locals that fly, specifically me, Michael, and John. And so we have to teach the choreo over every week or every time we're in a new city. And it
Wow.
takes a lot of work and it's,
Yeah, because each stage is different, right? So yeah, there's that logistics component, I'm sure. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
just
And
make sure it's the same in every venue we get to and that the actors all feel safe and everything's
sure.
good.
Okay. Yeah. No, and I was looking at some of the pictures and the costumes even too are just amazing. You
It
know,
is. But
yeah.
we all have some sort of holes in our sides and or zippers. I have zippers in my dress that I unzip at some point. You know, some of the boys have holes in their pants or something so it can fit the harness uh,
Wow.
places. It's all it,
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I didn't even think about that because you need
yeah,
that. Yeah, for sure. Wow, no, that is really cool. And that's something that, sometimes I think as audience goers we take for granted, right? Because we just see the finished product, but there's so much behind the scenes. Yeah,
exactly.
that puts this production that makes it, come to life, quite frankly. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And then I know you have some musical numbers. Yeah. How many do you perform?
I do three, I believe.
Three? Okay.
Yeah, I have one solo and then I'm in two groups.
Okay. Yeah. And so with your solo, is it vocally, is it a challenge? Is it how's that been, because like you said, I know you've done a lot of music, but then you add the acting.
Yeah,
Yeah. How has that transition been for you?
honestly, I feel like this role is the first role I've had in a really long time within a musical where I've acted more than I've sang ever. Um,
Mm.
yeah. And so it's been more of a challenge for me, who has I'd argue that I have more of a vocal background
Yeah.
to now really lean into the acting that I have and like really let that shine.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I'd say that the challenge within my song is less about the vocals and more about delivering the message of wanting to go home.
Sure.
It's the acting beats within the
Okay.
song. But I mean, honestly, at this point, it's been it's
That's
about
right.
maybe like the 330th show or something.
Right. You like doing it in your sleep at this point, right?
Yeah,
You're like, I literally want to go home. Wow, that's right. Yeah, but there's a physicality too, and trying to, yeah, balance all of that. That's a lot. Yeah, right. Just the breath, and things
yeah.
of that nature. I'm
I will
sure
say
that you can.
songs Friends Forever is still a struggle for me every night just because it's
Wow.
cardio based. Like we're all dancing for maybe like 5 minutes
Ooh.
straight. Everyone is
Mm.
a lot, and it's like hard to like keep
Yeah.
that for like basically it's like as if like doing jumping jacks and like trying
Exactly.
it's a lot. Uh
Yeah.
Got people flipping while everyone's twirling around and dancing and so
Are there
and
things that you do to prep yourself for that to kind of help? Yeah.
yeah. I mean
Yeah.
the beginning of every show I do some kind of warm up and
Okay. Yeah.
that day if I need some extra stretches in my hamstrings or just so they get in, like into my body and I'll do some
Okay.
rows for
Yeah.
but
Absolutely.
um yeah,
Yeah.
at that point it's about an hour in and I just like take a couple breaths before because there's a fight right before it. So it goes from a fight into that large dance number. And so I just like it's like the last 10 minutes of act one and I just take a deep breath backstage. Like
Right. Like literally
got it.
jumping in like the
Oh.
pool, right? Like here I go.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. Wow, man. No, kudos to you on that.
Yeah.
Listen, because I think I would be literally like calling an audible timeout. Like I need to. Yeah, no, that takes a lot of discipline for sure. And I was thinking about how cool Peter Pan is showing around this time of the year because the holidays, and I know, right?
Yeah.
Collectively, it is a magical time of the year, typically because I know me, I'm always trying to recreate my childhood memory of the holidays.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so I was just gonna ask you, can you speak to it, just the fact that during these 2 hours, it's really given the audience permission, to tap into that childlike wonder and imagination, would you say?
Yeah, I'd
Yeah,
say so. And definitely around the time this show was even made in like the 50s, I feel like that's when a lot of uh
yeah.
shows for escapism sort of were
Mm,
created.
that's a good
Uh,
point.
so I think, I mean, at any point, and everyone should feel the need to be able to escape into this nostalgic or childlike place, which I feel really grateful to be able to bring, especially around the holidays.
Mm,
It
mm.
I feel like this is such a Christmas show, like
Yeah,
there's
I do too.
lights, there's magic, it's about, the children in Neverland. It's so wonderful beautiful, and I think everyone is gonna have a great time, especially on the holidays.
Holidays, I agree. Yes, and you love going to the theater anyway around the holidays. So,
Exactly.
yeah, that's right. We're looking forward to it. And I just a silly question, if you'll indulge me, is if you could be a child forever, number one, would you? Because I'm always I love I see this all the time. It says adulting is overrated, and I feel like that most days. But
Yeah.
yeah, would you? Or is there a part of your childhood that you would mind reliving, or that you kind of hold dear to you? Yeah.
Okay. I don't think I'd be a child forever, but
Okay.
I almost wish there was like a button where I could like
I
go
love
to being a child for like a couple weeks and then come back.
that's
Like
I love that.
work.
Yes. That's right. I think that is an awesome, like a time machine, right? You're like, let
Exactly.
me go back. Yes,
Kids, ride my bike, and then
that's right.
all right, go.
Love that. I think a lot of people would agree with you on that one. They're like, yeah, let's make that happen. No, that is so cool. And just I kind of last couple of questions. I definitely want to know what has been the most surprising aspect of being a part of this production for you, being this is your first one, yeah.
I mean, whew, that's a good question. I think there's so many different aspects of being on tour too. Like
Yeah.
I'd say being on tour is just, just learning how to feed yourself and learning how to in a routine in a different city every week. Um, Getting used to different climates, how that affects your body and how that affects your performance during a show. There was one day where we went from I think Omaha, Nebraska, and then the next time we were in Salt Lake City. Like it's like there's different elevations and like learning how to make sure you're hydrated and when it's really cold and then you go to a really hot place, like how to keep your body okay.
Sure.
Obviously, when there's different changes of temperatures, it's hard to adjust quickly
Sure.
without even doing a show, right? And to like make sure your body's on top of that to be able to sustain a 2 hour like hefty performance. uh,
Hey,
so that's the tour side.
yeah.
And then I'd say the production side, I think it's I think I just get to play all the time and I think I have a lot of jokes in the show and I have a lot of like comedic one-liners that I really enjoy figuring out how to land every night. It's like
Yeah, sure.
like a comedy show and just like waiting to see how the crowd reacts. Like that's genuinely like it it,
Mm.
it fuels me.
I bet. I bet. It's
I
yeah.
say the line and I'm like, come on.
That immediate gratification.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
right. That's what in some ways you live for, I'm sure. Do you have family here?
I
Oh
don't
wow. So Christmas? Oh no.
have,
Yeah.
I'm going back to the East Coast and
Oh,
and
good.
I'll,
Okay. That's good. Yeah, no, no. Well, you do now. You got your North Dallas Gazette
exactly.
family here. That's right. We are supporting you. And my last question, I promise, is why do you think the story continues to transcend, over time? Yeah.
Uh, I think nothing can ever beat the feeling of nostalgia, and nothing can ever
Mm. Amen.
said if we had a chance to take our time machine and go back to when we were a kid, we would do it. And I think that this sort of gives us a chance to
Yeah.
take a second and be a kid again and see how the kids do it. And even if you bring your child, I think you're going to have the same amount of fun and the same amount of wonder and excitement as as your kid has because I mean there are a lot of technical elements that are awesome and I don't mean that
Mhm.
as like, awesome. I mean like
No,
you sit
sure.
there in awe and it's
Yeah.
it's it's a beautiful thing that happens along with the story, along with the not wanting to grow up, along with Wendy's inner turmoil of whether or not she should stay with the kids
Mhm.
or actually grow up and be an adult.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a story that we all
Oh, we all relate to that. Listen,
reckon with. We all have to grow up and
that's
it
it.
needs to be done. Not
Mhm.
necessarily needs, but
You
it's
know.
it's inevitable. And
Right.
I think everyone is either has to wait for it to happen in the audience or has it happened.
Right.
So there's
Oh, wow. I love that.
that feeling.
Yeah. No, I love that. And there's a humanistic aspect to that, right? Yeah, that any and everybody can relate to. And no matter where season you're in your life. Yeah, I think that is a great period to this conversation. You are a delight. How I look forward to seeing you. I am coming.
Yeah,
And I cannot wait to see your brilliance on the stage. Thank
thank
you so much for your time, and you get some good rest.
you.
Yes, thank you so much. You have a blessed day.
Thank you, you too.
You are so welcome. Bye bye. Again, what a treat it was speaking with the talented Hawa Kamara. Remember, you can see Kamara in the entire brilliant cast of Peter Pan the Musical starting December 25th, 2024 through January 5th, 2025 at Dallas at Music Hall in Fair Park. This again would make a fun holiday outing for you and the entire family. Just remember, you can head over to BroadwayDallas.org for tickets. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you at the theater.